It's rolling. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to our podcast. Welcome to our very first episode. You know what? We don't have a name for it just yet, but we're thinking about it, and we're hoping that just by knocking out this first episode, we're gonna get a little bit more clarity on what we're gonna call it. So, my name's Esteban, here with my co-host.
Danny, how you guys doing?
How you guys doing out there in the digital medium? So, Danny, I want you to kick it off with getting us started on what this podcast is going to be about, why we're doing this, and what our viewers stand to gain from listening to our asses.
Yeah, so hopefully something. And also a good point that I think we can pat ourselves on the back a little bit. I think
Mm-hmm.
just about everybody and their mother talks about starting a podcast. Okay. We talked about this like 2 days ago and we're like, fuck it. We'll do a podcast. We might upload it, we might not even upload it. And but the real reasons why we're doing this is number one, to become more articulate. Number two, to become more intelligent and learn more things, talk to people. We want to be able to look back on the way we speak to each other and we speak to the camera. Uh, for example, I just said right there. So we'll be able to look back and see
Ooh.
all these filler words that we use, like and but and um, try to regulate that a little bit and really just work on our speech and just talk to people and learn as much as we can. And hopefully we're appealing to an audience such as you guys that are probably young like us, maybe high school, middle school, college, as we are, and are trying to, see where you fit into the world and what all the potential that you have, and try to unlock that. And so, hopefully it's a good time and you guys get some knowledge out of it as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's a quest to, speaking of to become better communicators, to become better at conveying our opinions, our perspectives, and just having a good productive conversation. And I think
Yep.
by talking not only amongst ourselves, but potentially talking to people that we bring on, by doing research around these topics, we're going to get to learn a lot about the world, about our own journeys, about self-development, about just how to get more out of life that we're looking to get. And and honestly, for me, and I'm sure Danny, you can agree to this to some extent, just getting comfortable with creating content and putting it out there. You said we might not upload this. I think we should freaking upload this.
All
Um,
right.
because I've always had it kind of in the back of my mind that, like, I want to be someone who is comfortable with taking my thoughts and sharing them with the world, and putting them out there. And like you said, a lot of people say they want to start a podcast. They say they're going to start a YouTube channel.
Never
They say
do
they're
it.
going to start doing all these things, and they never do them. So to break that ice, to to actually take action there, and to start pushing value out into the world, being a little bit of a producer instead of just a consumer, I think is going to be super valuable. And we're going to have a vault of really cool videos from
Database.
our early
Yep.
20s to share with our future sons.
And
Really awesome.
daughters.
Oh,
And
oh, oh,
daughters.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Just
And
in case, just in
grandkids.
case.
Yeah, and another good point that you raised earlier there is I find the best way to learn, and I actually have a class now with a very esteemed business person who really just wants to help out the community, and so he teaches a course at Georgia Southern, and it's all about, okay, we have cases and we have readings each week, and instead of memorizing shit and taking a test on it, literally 70% of our grade is whether we participated in the discussion. And what that means is we read and intake information and then have to articulate it out. And by doing that, I think that's actually the best way you engage your mind and you actually learn things is be if you can articulate something, then you definitely know what you're talking about. And Jordan Peterson said, so he was also a professor at the University of Ontario in Toronto, and I think at Harvard at one point. He said in order to be able to teach a subject, he needed to know 10 times as much as he was teaching in order to be efficient at it and for other people to learn. And so just us talking about things, we learn so much more by being able to articulate it. And so that's one of our goals for this podcast. And then hopefully you guys can listen and learn something. We'll talk about things that we're interested in, and we'll talk about people that are interesting. And really, when I've brainstormed and thought about who we could bring onto this podcast in the future, obviously we don't have as much reach as some of these podcasters with 1 million followers or whatever. But I know people in my life, friends, family, that maybe they kind of have an ordinary life, but everyone really has a story, and there's a lot that you can learn from their story. And so we're going to explore kind of more ordinary people and see, the value they have in the world and into society and what we can gain from listening to them. A lot of people have a lot more to say than you think. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's value to be gained from just about anyone. And you're able to get that as long as you're curious, well, by having other people on, or even just by discussing amongst ourselves. We're not only working on being better communicators and putting out our own opinions and our own ideas, but also about being a good listener, taking what someone
Yep.
said and really being able to break it down, and just really being able to make the most out of a conversation and do so in such a way that translates into the real world. So
Yep.
I hope that by you just listening to us, you'd be able to get some of that same value. Um, and to touch back on a point that you just made with the whole Jordan Peterson thing and being able to explain something very well, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the saying that you don't truly know something unless you can explain it to a 5-year-old,
Hmm.
right? And a lot of that comes down to being as efficient as you can with every single word, making sure every single word you say has meaning, has purpose, and not overcomplicating things when you don't need to. A lot of people make tend to make the mistake more often of speaking too much than not speaking enough. So if we can just be very efficient, very not necessarily brief all the time, it doesn't have to be short, but just be
Yeah.
meaningful with everything we say, that's going to lead to good things.
Yep. But we could go ahead and, go ahead, Esteban. Tell me a little bit of where you're from, how you grew up, your background, your experience, and where you're at right now.
Yes, so I am 21 years old now, at the moment, and I grew up in Metro Atlanta, Atlanta, Georgia, A town, born and raised here.
Zone
I grew
6.
up in a Puerto Rican household, so I'm of Puerto Rican descent, very much in touch with those roots. But here Atlanta, Georgia is always going to be my home. And I did the normal thing, went through high school. I started college. I did my first year at Georgia Southern University, which is where Danny's at. He's going to tell you more about that in a second. I transferred, did my second year at the University of Georgia, and then after my second year that summer, I got into sales. I started off in the solar industry. So, excuse me, I was selling residential solar systems door to door. And that was a really cool experience for me. I got to go out and get my first taste of like real professional work. And I got introduced to an industry that resonated really well with me. And also, thankfully, I got familiar enough with it, and I had enough success to be able to tell myself that, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do full time. I want to do sales. And a lot of the reasons why I fell in love with sales so quickly wasn't necessarily because I loved going out there and selling things to people. No salesperson is going to tell you that with a
Hmm.
straight face and actually be telling the truth. But the truth of the matter is that in a lot of different professions, you're not necessarily going to love the day-to-day work every single second of it. But the way I look at it was, what can I do that's going to provide me the income I'm going to need, B, be something I don't absolutely hate, and C, force me to grow as a person. That was the biggest thing for me. I was studying to basically go into the tech field. I was studying management information systems, which is essentially like a combination of information technology and business admin. So I would have been maybe an IT consultant for a big company, maybe a data scientist or data engineer of some sort. And there was a lot of promise in that. It was a great degree from a good school, and I bet you that had I kept doing that, I would have still been very happy. But when I look at what I'm able to gain from sales when it comes to developing as a person, given the fact that you have to work under commission, there's a little bit more pressure for sure. You're surrounding yourself with people who have a lot of high energy, who are hustlers, who are hungry, who are willing to take risks. And I feel like my network has grown tremendously since I've gone into it full time. And you're forced to improve the way you present yourself, the way you speak, right? Like we're doing here, the way you communicate things, the way you overcome challenges in sales, excuse me. It's always going to be a big roller coaster. You're going to have your really high highs when you're crushing deals, and you're going to have your really low lows when you're getting told no until you're blue in the face. So I figured, well, at the time I was 20 when I made the decision. I I can take this risk, do this full time, and worst case scenario, learn a ton, expand my network, and be in a position light years ahead of a lot of other people my age who haven't done anything like that, or I can keep doing my thing, which still would have been a really good option, and graduate and go down that route. But I decided to take the more risky option, and now I'm actually doing sales remote. I'm no longer in the solar industry. I'm a remote high ticket closer. Some of you might be familiar with that term. I'm currently on a fitness offer, so I sell fitness coaching programs. I work with a fitness lead gen company that also sells lead gen to personal trainers. So we're kind of a liaison between personal trainers and personal training clients. And yeah, it's been a great time so far. And I guess we can segue into my future goals with that in a little
Mhm.
bit, but Danny, go ahead with where you're at right now.
Yeah, and we'll have Esteban's information somewhere in the description or whatever. If you are interested
Hey.
in a remote fitness plan, it's definitely a good place to start. And we'll definitely talk a lot about fitness and health and mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all that good stuff. But yeah, so similar for me as well. I was actually born in West Palm Beach, Florida. My mom is Cuban. My dad, not so much, so I won't claim to be 100% Latino. I just claim that 50% blood. I don't speak Spanish, unlike Esteban, so he's got a leg up on me there. I was born in South Florida, West Palm Beach. It's the greatest place. Um, but I moved out of there when I was 4 to Atlanta to Dunwoody. Great suburb to grow up in, I would say. A lot of like-minded people and kind of similar people. So that was overall a good experience. And in about eighth to ninth grade, I wanted to become a professional gamer. All
Woo.
right. So what that means for most of y'all RAs, you probably know. I mean, that means 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm grinding. CS:GO is the game I played, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. As in, I'm playing deathmatch. I'm playing ranked games. I'm playing scrimmages with my team. I'm going over. I'm being an IGL. I'm going over strats. I'm drawing stuff up on my computer. Literally 10 hours a day. I think I amassed close to 5,000 hours in about 3.5 to 4 years. Okay, so you can do the math, um, including going to school, had jobs at certain points, and that's what I really wanted to do. I did some live streaming on Twitch, had some YouTube videos, and all that good stuff. Then I went to my first high school party. All right, and I figured you know there's a real world out there that is more interesting than playing video games all day in a basement somewhere just locked away. Although it seems like a great life and you can make millions of dollars on it if you become extremely successful, and I'm not even talking about winning tournaments as a professional gamer, but if you become the top 1% of the 1% of the 1% of these streamers that literally make millions of dollars a month, you can be super successful, but at what cost? It's like that's your life. If you want that to be your life, then all the more power to you, go for it. But for me, I wanted to pursue more practical things and actually interact with real people instead of online. And then so that started to get me off the gaming track. I went back to play football and baseball my senior year of high school. And I'm like, all right, well, now what? I think I got to go to college. I wanted to be an entrepreneur because that's what everyone says online, right? Just become an entrepreneur. Easy way to get rich. You make billions of dollars. I remember watching Gary Vee a whole bunch and all the nonsense he would spew. And he does say some good stuff. Gary Vee does, but what half of Gary Vee's videos are about going to garage sales and flipping garbage for $10. Like that's ridiculous. You don't if you need that to, you know, have food on the table and you got to do that, then I understand it. But as a career, that is not really a great way to start. So what I realized, I used my reasoning and my logical thinking, and I said, okay, I want to become super successful. What does that look like? So you got to work your way backwards here. What does that look like? I want to own I'm interested in stocks. I'm interested in finance. I want to own a financial company, ideally alternative investment company. So what do the people that own those look like? They're very smart, competent, articulate, and social. Okay. How do you get there? Well, let's keep backtracking. You gotta get an MBA. Most of the time, you either have to know people, as in be born into the stuff, or you get an MBA for Wharton, Harvard Business School, Yale, or UPenn. Okay. And what you do there is you meet people and you're able to build a network and you work on Wall Street for a few years, then you go buy side, then you go business school, then you break out and start a niche company and then start to broaden that. Okay. So now we keep backtracking. Well, how do I get there? Well, I didn't get into the University of Georgia because I was playing video games for 10 hours a day. Okay. I got into Georgia Southern University. Um, if anybody out of Georgia is watching this, at Georgia Southern University, at Georgia State schools, so any state university in Georgia, there's Hope Scholarship and Zell Miller Scholarship, which basically covers all the costs for tuition. Okay, so all right, we're gonna go to college for free, not really take out any student loan debt. Now, in college, what do I need to do to get to that end goal? What is going to set me up for the highest probability of success? And I did a lot of research on this, and accounting and finance degrees tend to be the most practical and you learn the most. And that's pretty much undisputed. Accounting, finance, I would say information system and MIS is also really good. Business management, marketing, sales, degrees, useless. You want to be in marketing or sales? Go into marketing or sales. You don't need a degree, okay? Um, so that's where I started. Get my degree in finance and accounting, try to get some internships. And the way I got my internships was I got to get involved and build up a resume. Luckily for me, I joined a good fraternity and met a whole bunch of cool people, and I was able to get one of my internships through one of my fraternity brothers, and his dad owned a small company in Atlanta, so that's where I started. Then the next year I came back to school. I joined 3 different financial clubs. The Finance Association, Beta Alpha Psi, which is like an accounting honors association, and Southern Investment Association, which is probably where I learned my most practical knowledge. Out of all my classes put together in school, we learned how to make presentations, do DCF models, discounted cash flow models, evaluate companies, and pitch a stock. Okay. And in every interview I've had after that experience, after being in the SIA, I was able to talk about that and reference that pretty much the whole time. And the employers love to hear that kind of thing. Okay. And so now I just did my internship at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a big four accounting firm. I'm doing asset and wealth management tax. That kind of correlates to, like I said, I want to get into eventually. So I got a return offer, luckily. I mean, not even luckily. I worked my ass off and did what I needed to do and talked to the right people. Got a return offer in New York initially. And we're going to talk about what we think about the economy, the macroeconomic, effects of COVID and all that stuff later. This is kind of more of an introductory podcast. But due to my concerns about the macroeconomy, I figured it'd be better to stay in Atlanta where it's literally cost of living is at least 20% cheaper. Okay. I already know the people I'm going to be working with. They all like me and they all try to sell me to come to Atlanta. And in the past year since COVID and a little bit before COVID, there's been a lot of growth from these firms that I want to eventually work for or work with. that have been moving to Atlanta from, say, California or New York or these more bluer states. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I got a return offer. I start working in September. So this is my last semester of senior year. It's been a great experience college has. I would say you learn stuff in college kind of in terms of the classes, but what you really gain from college is you begin to find out who you are and how to get along with people. You start brand new, and Esteban definitely experienced this too. And you find out who you are. And another really intangible effect of going to college is you're in a position to really find a compatible partner long term because there are a lot of girls, and he's probably gonna disagree with this, but college is probably the best place to find a girl in our situation. If you're a girl, you probably want to find a guy that comes from a similar background, has similar values, and has a similar outlook on life. And there's a big pool in college, and so I think that's a great place to start. But yeah, I'm 22. That's kind of my background, and yeah, I think college is a good thing, especially if you can go for pretty much for free.
I love
So
it.
why not college, Esteban? I guess
Yeah,
you
I
kind of already
think
alluded to it.
I agree with you that college, if done right, is very much a good thing. And I would encourage most people who are graduating high school, who
Definitely.
have the resources to be able to do so, to go to college and to do it right. For me particularly, I just saw I weighed out my two options and I saw more. I deemed it more advantageous to drop out and go into sales full time because it's just more in line to what I want to do long term. However, I can understand that most people, statistically and just kind of culturally, when you ask them about it, don't want to be salespeople. And there are a few other options when it comes to things that you can do lucratively that don't require a degree. But when it comes to, like you said, finding yourself, developing your habits outside of the environment that you grew up with, with your parents, right? Going to a new town, going experiencing new people. A lot of people stand to gain a ton from that. Not to say I didn't. I got 2.1 years out of that,
Yeah, yeah.
and I got a lot of benefit from that. So yeah, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say no college. I would just say that if you feel like you're someone who can really spread their wings outside of college and you have a plan and you look at the people around you and like you think that the type of people you can surround yourself with in that outside environment is going to be better than maybe the type of the people that you can surround yourself with in college. I'm not to say college kids are bad. Most college kids are good or are good people. But it's just like there's a lot of different reasons why you might want to make that decision, and don't be afraid to take the risk, dude. The colleges, these colleges aren't really going anywhere. Not to say that I have really any intention of ever going back, but you can always go back. So, college will be waiting for you, but that opportunity that you're thinking of might not. So,
Yeah, and Esteban made a good point about this earlier. He didn't just drop out of college and do nothing. He already had solar lined up and an opportunity lined up that he said, "All right, I'm going to weigh the pros and the cons of each, and I think it's better to go into sales instead of just because there we know people, and I'm not going to name drop here, but think about people that used to go to the 24/7 with us that just didn't go to college because they thought college was stupid and a waste of money, and then end up literally just doing nothing and living with their parents for the past 4 years and doing like some blue collar work. Okay,
mm-hmm.
now not that blue collar work is bad; it's very respectable profession, and I appreciate everybody that's in blue collar. There's a lot of construction management majors down here at Southern. I respect them all, but for me, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be cleaning windows um, my whole life, or at least even for 4 years. I'd rather just go to college and have better opportunities coming out of it. But if you have a plan, then go for it.
Right. Right. Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget it. I was in Athens, Georgia. It's where UGA is, and I was laying on my couch at like 2 a.m. And what I did was I did my full freshman year, I did my full sophomore year, and I started about 2 or 3 weeks of my junior year. And it was one night after all my classes, and it was just on my mind all day. Like, should I just drop out? What the hell? I need to figure this out. and I was trying to fall asleep. I couldn't fall asleep. I went out into the living room. I sat on my couch and I pulled out a whiteboard and I drew out all the pros and cons on the whiteboard. And I looked at it and I was like, all right, I'm not going to class tomorrow. The next day, I call my landlord. I tell him I'm going to be ending my lease early. I go into my class project group me. I tell them I'm dropping out. Best of luck. I'm not going to be around anymore to finish this project. And then I was like, oh shit, we're doing this. And I moved out real soon, threw out a bunch of shit in the meantime that I shouldn't have thrown away. It was, in a way, it was super rushed. But like
Yeah.
he said, I had something that I was going to. I wasn't running away from college. I was running towards something else. So if you feel like you have something else to run towards that's worth running towards, go for it. But if you feel like you're just running away from college because you don't like it and you don't really have a specific good thing in front of you to run towards, press the brakes. Keep doing it. Find yourself, especially if your parents are helping you pay for that shit. Chill out. Go to a couple
Yeah.
more parties if you need to. Not gonna lie, I do miss some of the party and nightlife action a little bit, right? And then evaluate. So yeah, when it comes to my whole dynamic there, that's kind of how I made that decision. And and so yeah, so far it's been great.
Yeah. No, that's good. Definitely have a plan. Anything in life, have a plan and do everything you can to achieve that goal. Have a goal, make a plan, do everything you can to make that goal, and you're gonna find that maybe that wasn't the right goal. But that's okay. At least you're taking steps forward and not backwards. By figuring out what's not where you don't want to be, you're that much closer to figuring out where you do want to be. Okay? A lot of people get stuck in inaction and not doing anything, and you don't get anywhere if you don't do anything by definition. Okay? So definitely have a goal and take action. But it is the new year, all right? January 2024. It's a big year, election year.
Oh,
And we do have some goals that we kind of want to share with you guys. And I think it'll also help us be a little bit more accountable to those goals or a couple New Year's resolutions. So, Esteban, what do you want to do in this new year?
sure. So let's what I want to do first is give you a brief rundown as to what my overall goals and overall mission is, and then I want to tie that into the specific New Year's resolutions that I made. So right now I'm in a stage in life where I want to, of course, develop professionally. I want to make money. I want to make connections, and I want to just gain the most credibility I can in my industry, in build my personal brand, and just really, really establish myself in what I do to give myself that security going forward. I want to maximize my health the best possible. I want to look really good. I want to feel really good. I want to have crazy energy. I want to be one of those guys that you get to know and you're like, dang, that guy's jacked. That guy's in great freaking shape. So I want to build towards that, and then
Yeah,
I just
that's
want to I
easy.
want to dial in my habits. I want to always be learning new things. I want to get good sleep. I want to have a good schedule. I want to be organized. And right now, these are sort of my main priorities in life. As well as improving in other areas. I want to improve my social skills, communication skills, my relationships. But I'm definitely of the mindset that your 20s are for building as big and sturdy of a foundation as possible, and that later in your 30s and 40s are really the best years of your life. So this year I've made a few specific resolutions. One, I when it comes to my health, I want to take a bit of a next level focus in what I do. So I've already been working out consistently. I've already been eating more or less what I need to be eating, but I want to level all that up and just really dial in, mostly as it pertains to my diet. So a lot of you would be familiar with the term biohacking. I want to do a little bit of biohacking in the sense that I want to start to get really conscious of not just the macros of what I'm eating, so proteins, fats, carbs, calories, but the micronutrients, the ingredients, right? I want to eat clean foods that aren't processed and full of poisons and full of seed oils and full of additives and full of red 40 and all this crap that's out there. So I want an overall focus of just learning more and implementing more of that into my life. I want to increase my testosterone levels. I want to get blood work done, get those levels checked. I haven't done that yet, and really start to gather more data as to where I'm at physiologically and eat in such a way that maximizes that. A couple things I'm cutting out. A, fast food, completely cutting out fast food. If it has a drive-through, I'm not going. If
Except
it's
Chipotle.
well, yeah, I wouldn't consider Chipotle fast food. I know that's kind of like a debatable topic. So I would say Chipotle is like fast casual, but yeah, I would still crush a Chipotle bowl for sure. But uh, I got to the point where, sometimes on weekends here and there, or even sometimes during the week, a little more often than I would like to admit, I got a Chick-fil-A right here by my house. I would run to that Chick-fil-A and grab something.
Yeah.
And I would never go too crazy. Like I'm not the type who's gonna go get like a large meal with a milkshake and a cookie, but
Or a large Coke.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've never been like a big sugary drink or soda guy,
Yeah. Gotta drink
but
water.
right. So um no fast food is is probably the biggest thing as it pertains to like cutting something out of my diet. Um Also, when it comes to my exercise, I want to really start focusing more on just sculpting my body in a way that I maximize my quote unquote weak points. So really start focusing on muscle groups that I might have neglected a little bit in the past. I do work with a fitness coach of my own. I've been working with him for over a year now, and part of the reason why I sell fitness coaching is because I had the conviction going into it from having hired a fitness coach and gotten great results. So shout out to him. So working with him to just take my physique up to the next level, uh, maximizing some of those muscle groups that might need a little bit of extra work. And aside from that, in terms of proper resolutions, hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna check this little list. I had some written down just in case I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Cutting out fast food, cutting out processed
Hmm.
foods. I think, there's a lot of different almost religious communities about what your diet should be in terms of you got your vegans, you got your vegetarians, and now you got your carnivores. Um, and all these diets, can be great. I'm more of a proponent of the carnivore diet. I think, it's more all-inclusive, nutrient dense. But what all these have in common is they cut out processed foods and you're eating whole foods.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest steps you can take into having a healthy diet and becoming more energized. I mean, when you eat junk food and just kill a whole bunch of fries and garlic bread and pizza, like everyone knows this. You kill all that, and within 20 minutes, you're so tired, like you literally just pass out.
Hmm.
Um, and that's because your glucose spikes super high, your blood glucose level spikes super high, and then just crashes because there's nothing to sustain it. Whereas if you're eating whole foods, especially steaks and meats, you don't really have as much of a spike, and you have more constant energy throughout the entire day. But continue with
Yeah,
your
that's
resolution.
that's that's so huge, and that really is the overall focus. One thing I want to do more of, I have one right next door, is start shopping more at Whole Foods, at the store Whole Foods, and focusing more on organic ingredients and nice grass-fed steaks,
Yeah.
organic grains, organic fruits, and really giving my body the right inputs in order to achieve the right output. And what a lot of this comes down to is maximizing other areas of my life that I might not have been as conscious of when it comes by improving my diet aside from just my physique, right? So it's maximizing my sleep, maximizing my focus day to day, maximizing my hormone profile like I mentioned earlier, getting in a position to where I'm going to age really gracefully. I'm going to live really long. I'm going to have energy for a very long time.
Yep.
And cutting out the bullshit and eating whole foods is really big there. Another thing that I'm going to completely cut out is gas station anything. Gas station snacks.
Energy drinks?
Mm,
Oh,
no, well, actually, another thing I want to cut out is,
caffeine.
and I am cutting out is zero sugar sodas. So,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
uh, energy drinks like a White Monster, not having it. There's some energy drinks at Whole Foods that are really good that are essentially just sparkling water with caffeine.
Yeah, I've
And
heard of
I'm going to
that.
be just very careful not to go to a gas station and get some crap. I'll go and I'll grab a bottle of water. I'll go and I'll pump my gas tank. I'll go and eat maybe a protein bar, but no taquitos, nothing off the freaking roller, no
The
pastries,
roller,
donuts,
that
no
shit
chips.
hits. That shit hits. The roller hits. It goes crazy.
I know it hits. So yeah, those are
Burns like a
my
buck.
dietary cutouts. And then aside from that, aside from the health perspective, like I said, I want to keep working on my career. For this year specifically, I want to get to a point where I either do or can, and choose not to for another reason,
Uh-huh.
move out of the country. So that's a big thing for me. Part of the reason why I got out of in-person door-to-door sales and got into remote sales is because I do have very much a long-term vision of living abroad for a whole host of reasons. I think that there's a lot of things in America that there once were to like that they're no longer to like. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity abroad that wasn't there previously. There's a movement right now of these nomads, right? These expats, these wealthy, successful people who are congregating in these cities like your Dubai, right? Your, Colombia, Brazil, Portugal, Belgrade. I can go down the list. And I want to really be able to experience that and spend a lot of the latter half of my 20s experiencing different parts of the world to then settle somewhere outside of the US permanently. So this year, I'm either going to make the move and get out, or I'm going to be able to and delay it for some reason. Reason why I say that is because, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe it will just make sense to plant my feet here for a little bit longer. But right now, when it comes to stability in my career, financials, and my connections that I have abroad, I feel like I'm not quite there yet where I could, even if I wanted to tomorrow comfortably. I want to get to that point where I could comfortably or send it and do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my year.
And that's something we'll definitely discuss. We might do a whole episode on
Oh yeah,
abroad living because I do kind of tend to disagree with Esteban on this subject of living abroad, and I do see some of the cons, but I also see a lot of the pros. So we'll definitely discuss that. The grass is always
for
greener
sure.
on the other side, no matter what you're talking about. But for me, 2024, definitely a big year. It's when I'm gonna actually start my career, my big New Year's resolutions. And Esteban, let's make this one of ours. Let's do this podcast once a
Yes,
week.
sir.
Might as well put that on the list.
Boom, it's going in.
On the list. And what actually, I think contributed to this idea is, I want to become more intelligent and more articulate. And so, what was my New Year's resolution? I'm going to read at least one book a month. I've already read two and a half books.
Let's
The
go.
Art of War by Sun Tzu, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and for my class, I'm actually reading How to Change the World. And then I just ordered an Elon Musk, I guess biography or autobiography, whatever the correct term is.
Hmm.
And then my roommate's also got a book called The Go Giver. He got gifted from his boss. It's a quick short read, so I'll probably read that either this week or next week. So number one, New Year's resolution, try to read a lot. And you know, last time I've read a book in full, I think was ninth grade. I think I read Of Mice and Men, which is a short book, but it's a classic. And you know, even Andrew Tate wants to say, I ain't got time for reading, blah blah blah. But every successful person that's ever lived knows how to learn and intake information, and reading is the best way to practice comprehending literal words and information and making it useful in your life. And the more you read, in theory, the better you're going to get at that. You know, as you practice things, you get better. And so if you read a lot, you'll be able to intake information better, more efficiently, and faster. So that's if you don't read, think about it that way. That's what helped me to decide start reading. You know, whether just do 30 minutes an hour a day. It's not that bad. Number two, New Year's resolution. I want to do the sauna or cold plunge. I started doing that in
Mm.
December. So I won't even say it's a New Year's resolution because I started doing it in December, but we're going to throw it on there as well. For me, you know, we see on TikTok all the time all these health benefits, whether it be cancer related, health related, longevity related, inflammation related, from cold plunge and or sauna. They both have a lot of benefits, but the real reason why I started doing it, I did sauna for 15 minutes. That sauna was hot as hell in the forum. 200 to 210 degrees. Okay. You get out, you barely see, you're kind of almost dehydrated. But once you like cool off, I literally felt better for the entire rest of the day. I felt crisp, more energetic, and kind of like light on my feet and in my head. And so that really pushed me over the edge onto doing that. I understand with the cold plunge, it's kind of hard. You know, my neighbor's got a cold plunge kind of contraption. And what you can do if you don't have ice every single day that I learned is you can get water bottles, fill them up with water. If you have a big enough freezer, you freeze all the water bottles, grab them out of the freezer, put them in the cold plunge, cool it down, do the cold plunge 3 to 5 minutes, take them out, put them back in the freezer. So it's kind of like reusable ice. So sauna or cold plunge. We'll keep doing that after workouts. Definitely, I need to continue working out and getting stronger. I just hit 225 for the first time ever, and that's basically because I've been
Oh,
lazy. Did we talk about this? Did I tell you that I hit it? We
no,
talked
you
about
said
it, and I
you
said
were on the quest to hit it. You hit
yeah,
it.
so I was always,
So
I didn't ever have a spotter because I work out by myself most of the time, but I had some buddies at the gym that time, and I'm like, I mean, I do 185 for five. I'm gonna
mhm.
just throw 225 on there. I was like, yo, can you spot me? I've never done this before. Maybe I'll hit it, maybe I won't. I don't really know. He's like, how many? I'm like, I don't know, maybe one. And I pump out four of those bad boys. I'm like, all right. So what that is another lesson of
You
take
did
action.
225 for four?
Yeah.
Let's go.
So that's another lesson of take action. Don't be scared. If I had been trying to hit 225, say 6 months ago, I probably would have got there a lot sooner and been able to push the weight. And right now, I'd probably be pushing 245 for four. And that's another lesson when it comes to weightlifting is you got to keep pushing your muscles and pushing your body to the limits. You can't just be nonchalant and not challenge yourself. So continue going to the gym, sauna, read. We'll do this podcast as a New Year's resolution. And then I guess I got a couple goals for 2024. Number one, obviously finish up all my classes, take the CPA before I start working, which means I'm probably gonna have to start studying this semester during school. Take it, take as many, take at least 2 to 3 of the tests this summer, get my CPA by the end of the year, and luckily the company covers most of those costs, and they say if you get the CPA, you get a $5,000 bonus in the year that you complete the CPA. So that's a pretty neat incentive from the company, and then obviously just start working and building my professional brand in the real world and just working my way up as quickly as possible. Right now, my more long-term goals are to get an MBA at Wharton and then probably in finance and then work my way either into Wall Street and or start something or just build a network and be able to start something based on my past experience, my background, and what I can contribute. And really the best thing you can do is continue to learn and learn how to learn. And so that's what I'm going to try to do this year.
Fire. Fire, fire, fire. Yeah, it
Yep, yep.
seems like really for both of us, but for you, definitely big year. getting out into the quote unquote real world, right? Already got your job lined up, and I think it's good that you aren't just hinging all of your all of your mental focus on just that. Now, don't get me wrong; it sounds like you're very much driven to maximize this opportunity, do the best in your career, but it's also like it's not just about the fact that I'm gonna start working at PwC. You know, it's the health, it's the reading, it's getting the CPA, it's doing all these things to just get off to a hot start, and
Yep.
that's so huge. You mentioned the sauna and cold plunge, and I definitely agree with you there. One thing I've started doing is not quite a cold plunge, but I take a nice hot shower, and at the very end, I step out of the water, I make it cold as hell, and I get into the water and I count to 120, 2 minutes. And it definitely, and I do that after having gone to the sauna and the steam room, and definitely gives me a huge energy boost. You know, it people claim that's really good for your testosterone. So hopefully my testosterone's going up. Again, I need to go get it tested.
Hmm.
And also with this podcast, I think for me personally, it's for this year I wanted to start doing some form of formal content creation. Now, I might still create my own content on top of this. I would have no reason not to. But I think that like we talked about in the beginning, it's about taking that action, getting started. And when I think long term, you know, maybe this is just the typical syndrome of somebody who's been watching YouTube for so many years. I think it would be really cool to be a full-time content creator, not just for the reasons of like, oh, it's cool and you're popular and you've got clout and you're making money doing nothing, but
Yep.
you know, I'm not saying that that's necessarily like my career path. I of course I have other things at play here, but to have the option, even if it's a supplementary income, to be able to make money by literally just creating content, like putting videos and content onto social media platforms, that gives you tons of flexibility. You can do that from anywhere in the world. You can do that anytime. You can do that. You have the essentially a monetized creative outlet where you get to say things and do things and show people things and get paid for it. If you know if you do it for long enough, and I think that's super cool. So yeah, another big thing there in 2024. And you know, people say this every year, but I'm saying it again this year after all the every other years that I've said it. This is gonna be my year.
Yeah, Cowboys. Psych. Mike McCarthy. Apparently he's not getting fired. That's ridiculous. Cowboys suck. And yeah, that's depressing. But so
Mm,
let's talk more broader, 5 to 10 years, or even long term. For me, I have this one goal that I've had in my mind, and uh, a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying this. Some people might love me. I do have to just attribute this goal a little bit to Andrew Tate and his idea of they basically have a compound where everyone he cares about, his brother, his family, all his kids, they all live in the same area and all grow up together as like a unit. And that way everyone grows more instead of just like nowadays, a lot of people are very isolated, even from their like definitely from their extended family, but even from their immediate families.
mm-hmm.
I want to be able to make enough money that have the finances to be able to buy, say, just a ton of land, either on the ocean or on a lake. Okay, say 100 acres, have 4 or 5 different houses on the property. Have a little basketball court, pickleball court, slash tennis court. Have four-wheelers, fishing, wakeboard, everything, and then be close enough to some kind of urban area or school, but be able to like have, say, me and my immediate family, my wife and kids in one house, and then literally right across the street have my sister and her kids in one house, and then my brother, and so on, and then we just keep buying land around there. And by the time we're grandparents, our kids want to live there, and we all just become one big family unit. And I think that leads to a lot of, and I don't like to use the term happiness, but happiness in the sense of everyone has meaning and purpose because we're all one and we're all together. And I think that's lacking a lot in our society. And so long term, I want to be able to make enough money to be able to be independent and be able to fund all that if need be.
Yeah, that's the having that communal feel brings a lot of fulfillment. And as humans, we're designed to thrive around other people, especially our relatives and people that are close to us. I think that's really cool. I've thought about that as well, not quite to that large extent, but being able to be that guy who can bring the family together and be the liaison for everyone. I think of when you said that of a podcast that PBD Patrick McDavid did,
Yeah.
where he said he wants to be that cool grandpa when the holidays run around, everybody's like, why aren't we going to Patrick's? I want to go to Patrick's.
Yeah, and everyone pulls up. Yeah.
Yeah, and being able to have that big ass table with the guest houses and like all of that is that's and then you really, and to put it a little bit selfishly, like you're that guy, right? You're the one who's been able to make this a possibility. You're the one who everybody looks to and thanks for inviting them over. But at the same time, it's you're not the only one benefiting. Everyone's benefiting by having that central spot to mingle and grow together.
Yeah, and I would definitely say there's been a large push
Mhm.
nowadays for a multitude of reasons. Number one, people are growing older. Number two, there's a lot of like incels and people that literally just don't move out of their house till they're 35 years old. And a lot of other more selfish reasons, I'd say, and some logical reasons why people literally just don't want to have kids anymore.
Mm.
And there are a lot of people that say they don't want to have kids and they grow old and they just wish that they had kids. Because when you're old and your wife leaves you or something happens and you're just all alone, you don't have any kids to take care of you, you don't have anybody around you, that's a very miserable and depressed and lonely life. And I think for the vast majority of people, that's what ends up happening. So I think having kids is, one of the essential purposes of our existence. Not to get too deep.
Yeah, we could definitely rip a full episode
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. But yeah, so those are kind of more of our broader long-term goals. Um, what's the schedule? What do you want to do for this podcast? Once a week?
Yes.
What's today? Wednesday? I mean, it doesn't matter. I can do most days, most weekdays.
Yeah, yeah, we'll find something that works there, but I think at least once a week, and
Yeah,
even sometimes if we've got a topic that we really got to burn and we need to do an extra one, let's do it.
yeah,
But yeah, this has been fun having this outlet every week to share and talk about cool shit is going to be great.
yeah. Or even what's just going on in our lives.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll make a YouTube channel. We should probably do that soon. Have you thought of anybody that you would like to bring on as one of our first guests?
Mm, not yet, honestly.
Okay, I've got a couple ideas.
Okay.
Some interesting people that I think are a little bit out of the norm. Um, I think we could do a podcast with my roommates,
Okay.
825. I think that'd just be kind of entertaining. And like we said, we're going to talk about a lot of our areas of interests. Hopefully, you guys are interested in these things too. If not, then I guess there's no reason for you to be
Go
watching.
away.
But yeah, like Elon Musk, fuck off. Anyways, this has been fun. I mean, we can keep talking definitely for another hour. How long have we
Hmm.
been talking?
Just about an hour. I wrote
Okay.
down here, I think 9:12 was when we started. It's 10:07. So right around an hour. And yeah, there's a lot of reason to do this outside of the audience. Like even if we weren't uploading this or even if we weren't even recording it and we were talking into a wall, which is something I've done before where I'll literally get here on Zoom, no recording, and I'll just
Yeah,
talk to myself and it's fun.
definitely all of y'all should do that. And
Hmm.
listen back to the way you speak and how you can improve on that. There's
Yep.
tons of videos online to help you do that. So I think everyone should definitely be talking and be social. And
Yes.
definitely, if anyone does watch this, we're trying to figure out a name as of right now. Comment what you think your a name should be. What do you want to hear us talk about? What things would interest you? We'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely do some research on the back end so we are a little bit more informed on these topics. This was more of an introductory podcast,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely let us know what you guys are interested in and what you guys tend want to gain out of listening or what you want to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely got a lot of ideas on the burner.
Yep.
But I would encourage anyone to who wants to throw out an idea to think of topics that you think would benefit you personally, and think of things that you'd want to hear about that you can kind of relate to. And I think that part of what we're going to be able to do is relate to a lot of people, especially young people, but young people who are trying to start off and start the early ascent to a prosperous life. But really
Yep.
anyone who can think of a topic that's like, dang, I could really relate to this if they were to talk about that. And you're getting us while we're fresh, if you're seeing this within the near
Yep.
future. So we're probably going to see your comment and we're going to really appreciate it. And we're probably going to
Yep.
give a lot of consideration.
As recording this, it is January 17th, 2024. And I also will add, and I'll get your view on this as well, Esteban.
Hmm.
If for some reason you do come across this and you listen to the end and you do want to be on a podcast, just we'll have our information or send us a DM what your story is, what you think you would have to say, and we'll be glad to have you on the podcast as
For
like a
sure.
listener podcast episode. That would be amazing.
For sure. For sure.
We'll have to post that. We'll have to put that in the description or something because I don't think anybody's gonna watch to the end.
We can
But
pin it in the top comment.
yeah, yeah. There we go. We'll pin it.
Hmm.
Yeah, we just want to talk to people. We want to learn and become smarter. And we'll figure out an outro at some point and an intro and a name, and then we'll just keep on going.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, it's been a good time.
Yeah, it's been real. Thanks for
All
listening,
right.
everybody.
Thank you guys for listening, and come for the next one. There will be a next one.
Yep. Keep on grinding.